We cannot reach our climate and biodiversity goals without saving the world's tropical forests. In order to do this, we need monitoring. This new service will give forest countries access to free satellite images of the rainforest. This will be an important resource for tropical forest countries. It will enable governments and civil society to discover deforestation and take action to stop it.
Las imágenes obtenidas de los sensores PlanetScope se ha venido usando cada vez más en las aplicaciones científicas y ambientales en el mundo. Por ejemplo, la inversión de Colombia para el uso de estas imágenes fue de 400 millones de pesos para el servicio anual. Con el apoyo de Noruega, estos costos para mantener el servicio se eliminan y se logra una verdadera democratización en el uso de la información.
The supplier of the service is Kongsberg Satellite Services in partnership with Planet and Airbus. They are showing us how technology can be part of what makes a better future.
Hello, welcome to today's webinar on tropical forest monitoring. My name is Hege Ragnestveit. I work for the Norwegian International Climate and Forest Initiative, and I serve on the program committee for the Oslo Tropical Forest Forum. And today's webinar is held in partnership with KSAT. The destruction of tropical forests is one of the biggest environmental disasters of our time. We all know that. And we also know that we cannot reach the goals of the Paris Agreement nor the Sustainable Development Goals without halting deforestation. Norway has, since 2008, been supporting efforts to halt deforestation with about $300 million a year. And a significant part of this has gone to improve forest monitoring systems in tropical forest countries. High-resolution satellite imagery can be used to strengthen law enforcement, to hold companies accountable, and to discover illegal activities. But access to such data has been limited. Norway is removing this bottleneck. We're making these data available to all and for free. Every month, a brand new overview of all tropical landmasses will be made available. We're centralizing the cost and providing a public resource to the world. Norway intends this to be a resource for forest country governments, for civil society, indigenous peoples organizations, academia, the private sectors, and everyone else interested in contributing in halting deforestation. We will continue to work with our partners to turn the data into useful information and to make that information easily accessible to those that need it, people such as you. I will now leave the floor to Charlotte Bishop, who is the Senior Project Manager with KSAT and the overall Project Manager for the NICFI data program. Charlotte will be our moderator for today, but she will start by giving us an overall presentation of the program. Charlotte, the floor is yours.
Hi and welcome everyone. It is a pleasure to be here today and to introduce you to the NICFI data program. So I'm just going to share my screen. Let me this. Oh, I think hopefully you can see my screen. I'm sure someone will tell me if you can't see my presentation. So I first wanted to introduce you to the agenda. We've already heard two excellent introductions from both the Norwegian Prime Minister, Erna Solberg, and also from Hege Ragnhildsvej from NICFI and the Oslo Tropical Forest Forum, who very kindly introduced me as well as your moderator and also as the program manager for the NICFI data program. So it's my pleasure to initially give you a bit of a very brief overview to what the NICFI data program is, what it does, what it's enabling, and who the partners are that are bringing you this service. And then my colleague Pooja will do a demonstration of how to access Planet Explorer. And then we'll move into the other ways that you can access the data. And we will have Alyssa from Global Forest Watch sharing how their tools and platform are enabling a huge number of users to access the data, particularly those users who are perhaps less familiar with the different scientific tools available for image analysis. And then we have two excellent use case examples, one from Indonesia and one from Peru. So I think let's get going, and I will start by introducing you to the program. So as we've already heard from our introductory speakers, this initiative has come from Norway. The Norwegian Ministry of Climate and Environment through NICFI have contracted this work to KSAT, and we are working with our partners Planet and Airbus. But I just wanted to tell you a little bit about what we are all doing, what the partners are doing, and what we're bringing to you. So KSAT is the overall project manager and the service manager for the program, and that essentially means that we are there working with the users. We're helping the users understand how the data can be useful to them. We are also acting as a help desk and support system, which I'll tell you a little bit about as we go through, and helping bring that together and working with our partners who are actually providing that data. So Planet is providing their incredible Basemap service across the tropical forest regions, which I'll tell you a bit about what that looks like and the type of cadence and access to the imagery. And Airbus are providing historical data, which is very useful, of course, for some of that longer time series of analysis. But that data is only available to some strategic partners for this program. And I'll touch on what that means and how that element of the program will become available as we go through. So we've touched on this previously, but the primary objective of this program is focusing on reducing and reversing the loss of tropical forests. And it has been designed to be as broad as possible to ensure the program can be as useful as possible to the widest audience. It is not limited to research, and it's also available for commercial users. So we're trying to make this, we're trying to remove some of those barriers, as Hege mentioned, and ensure that everyone can have access to this data in pursuit of supporting and saving our tropical forests, which we know is incredibly important. So the data that's available it comes in two different forms. So the image you'll see on the right hand side of your screen shows the tropical forest regions that are covered. So this is approximately 45 million square kilometers of coverage. And these are covered completely by each of the mosaics that are available. And we currently have 16 mosaics that are covering this region of 45 million square kilometers. So as you can see, it's a vast area. This really is a very unique and different, unparalleled project in comparison to what's available through other sources. So it is really an exciting time, a step change for us to be part of this initiative and to be able to present the value that we hope this program will bring to the many and varied use cases and applications. So as I mentioned, we have two main data products. So we have the visual mosaics. So these are optimized for visual display. They are, as it mentions on the screen, for just under 5 meter spatial resolution. and they come in 3 bands typically. So those are not dissimilar to the types of visualization you would see in Google Earth. So it is a static visualization. You don't enhance it in the same way. They're not designed for analysis directly, or a deep dive at least into scientific analysis, but they are a fantastic overview and a visual understanding, and we'll hear a little bit more about how those data sets are being used as we go through this program today. In addition, we also have the analysis ready surface reflectance mosaics. So these are fully corrected, author-rectified and atmospherically corrected data sets that are ready to use by the scientific community or more advanced users. These data sets come in 4 spectral bands, which for those who are familiar will also enable a little bit more detail that can be extracted from the imagery. And we have 2 different data cadences. We have one data cadence is our archive product. So we have 2 archive products, and I'll touch on the second one when we move to the next slide. But the primary archive product, the one that's available to the most users, is a biannual product available from December 2015 until August 2020. So that means 2 mosaics a year. So every 6 months there is a mosaic that covers this entire region that you're seeing on your screen. And that is made up of the PlanetScope data and provided as both a visual as well as an analysis ready surface reflectance mosaic. And then from September 2020, when the program started, we have monthly monitoring mosaics, again, covering this entire region, and they will be available throughout the entirety of the project contract, which runs until 2022, with possible extension up to 2024. So now we've heard a little bit about the data, it would be good to understand how we can actually use this. So we have 3 different access levels for this data. We have the level 0, which is the most open. It is a public good level of data, and in fact most level 0 users will likely not know they are a level 0 user. So the level 0 usage is view only. So if you have seen these data sets already through tools such as Global Forest Watch or Map Biomasses tool, for example, you are already accessing the data as a level 0 user. They are not downloadable. They are visual mosaic products that are perfect to explore from a visual perspective, but not something that you can download and analyze in your own tools. We then have a level 1, which is as open as possible, and this has been designed to be as broad as possible to ensure as many people as possible can access the data. And we currently have 5,350 users already at level 1 user level. So this provides access to the visual mosaic that we've just talked about, as well as the analysis ready product, which means you can also download that data, you can stream that data into your services, and you can also make products from that data as well. So there's really a lot that you can do. This is the one level that you can sign up, you accept some license terms, and I'll tell you a little bit about how straightforward and easy that process is. So we're trying to remove some of those traditional barriers to access. And level 2, you can see it's grayed out and not very easy to read, and there is a reason for that. We're not going to focus on the level 2 access today. Level 2 is only for strategic partners, will be quite a small group of users, and that data access is not yet fully operationalized. So there'll be more information on how to apply for level 2 usage. But what level 2 will provide you will be access to not only the mosaics that cover the entire region, but also the planet imagery that goes into making them, and also selected archived scenes from Airbus, which will have a longer time series as well. So that will come, and there'll be more information shared on how you will have the chance to apply for that in due course. But for now, really, level 1 is the usage level that we expect most users will see the most benefit from, because of the flexibility and the availability of the vast amount of data that's available. So just to wrap up my part of the program, I thought it was probably very important to tell you where to start. Where do you go to sign up for this program? So I've added the web address at the top, and we'll also put it into the Q&A function too. And you can sign up here. This is our project landing page. This is what you'll see when you go to that web address. And on the right hand side of your screen, you can enter your email address and sign up. You'll be sent a verification email. You enter a couple of details and then you will have access. So there's no long lead time to wait for access. It's reasonably instantaneous as long as you're checking your emails at the same time. So that's where you will access all of the data, and perhaps more importantly, there are a wealth of resources as well on that same page. We have general questions in 5 different languages, including English, French, Spanish, and Bahasa Indonesian. We have user guides equally in those same 5 different languages, and we also have a help desk that's operational 24/7, which can be accessible at the NICFI service desk at ksat.no email, which I've put at the top. And this is where you can speak to us directly with any questions or concerns or troubles that you're having, and we will help troubleshoot and solve those items for you. So there's really a range of different ways that you can interact with us, and we really like to hear from you, and I think you'll hear that echoed in Pooja's presentation that's coming up right after this. So I think I will leave that there, and we'll move on to Pooja. But first of all, and I will encourage you to all use the Q&A function, which is at the top of your team screen. And please leave us a question. We will be having a live Q&A at the end of this session, and we will answer some of your questions as we go, and look forward to being able to come together with some of our speakers at the end of the programme to answer those. But I will move over to Pooja, who is a customer success engineer with Planet, and we're working very closely together on this programme. So Pooja, over to you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Pooja, and I'm a customer success engineer at Planet. And for the next 10 minutes, I'm going to be taking you around our user interface called Explorer and Basemap Viewer that will allow you to view and download the NICFI base maps that we have made available to you. To start off, when you first log into Explorer, this is the screen that you should be seeing, something similar. At the bottom here, you should be seeing a timeline feature like what I have here, which allows you to click on these little buttons here that allows you to switch between different base maps of different time periods. There is a toggle drop-down menu right here that allows you to switch between the monthly and the biannual archive. When I click on the biannual archive, the timeline changes and I can switch between the base maps where these little white circles are to change between the different cadences that we have released. Going to the top left corner of the screen where this little magnifying glass is, this mimics the functionality of the timeline feature, but it opens a panel on the left-hand side of your screen where you can scroll up and down to pick between the base map that you would like. Similar to before, you can always click on the drop-down menu and pick between the biannual and the monthly monitoring base map right here. The top bar right here, which allows you to search for a location, you can always type in the location that you're interested in monitoring here, or you can always copy paste the latitude and longitude of an area. Once you type it in, the Explorer will automatically zoom into that location so you can see the imagery there. Moving towards the top right-hand corner of the screen, there is a compare imagery feature. This is a feature that is built into Explorer that allows you to compare imagery from different time periods. So I'm going to click on this feature now and show you how it works. The first thing that I'm going to pick are 2 base maps that I would like to compare. I'm going to compare the November 2020 base map with the February 2021 base map. As you can see, now that I've dragged and dropped them into these 2 screens, the screen is split by this white line right here. And what we can do is we can zoom into a location that we know we would like to see change in. There you go. And then you can switch back and forth between using this white line that will allow you to see any changes that you would like to see. So I can see already there's some changes here, like this tributary right here. I'm seeing a little bit of change there. Now I'm going to stop comparing and show you the next feature that we have, which is enhancing imagery. This is a visual enhancement tool that we have built into our user interface. If you come across an imagery that you would like to see more features or enhance it in any way, you can always click on this feature and click on the Enhance button. What the Enhance button does is that it applies, it plays with the contrast and the saturation levels to show much brighter imagery. You can also go into the custom option and play around with the contrast, brightness, and saturation, and also adjust the histogram as you please. The next option under this is the Perform Spectral Analysis tool. This tool allows you to play with the different bands in our imagery to extract indices that we've made available to you. So we have some basic indices available here that you can play around with. The first indices, which is the RGB, which is the true color visualization. This is the image that you saw when you first logged into Explorer. This is basically a visual representation of the base map. Default color visualization is playing with the near infrared band, and the NDVI is the vegetation indices right here that you can play around with, and you have a little bar right here that goes through the different values from -1 to 1. We also have a tool here, which is the Make a Time Lapse in Planet Stories. Please don't use this tool at the moment, as this is not integrated, but integrated with the NICFI base maps. Moving below here, where you can see these couple of icons at the bottom of the right-hand corner of your screen. The first icon allows you to upload a geometry or draw your own geometry. If you would like to upload an area of interest that you are currently monitoring, you can always click on the last button right here and upload your geometry as long as they are one of these file types that are supported by our user interface. If you do not have a geometry that you are currently monitoring, there is no need to worry, as these icons allow you to draw your own geometry. I'm going to click on the first icon here and draw a little rectangle right here. Once you draw the rectangle, you should see that the button will straight away go to daily and you'll see this error. However, this is nothing to worry about. You can always click on the monthly option here, which takes you back to the base maps that you have access to. So once you've drawn your AOI, we can click on the button below to measure distances and areas. You can use this tool to measure distance, to measure an area, or you can also use this tool to measure bearing. This tool is all available to you and it's super easy to use. Below this option, there is an overlay option where you can toggle back and forth to show street labels and satellite view. If you would like a cleaner representation of your map, you can always turn the street labels off, and that should basically just only show you the base map. These two icons are basically allow you to zoom back and forth. And at the bottom here, there are some options here where you can copy and paste the latitude and longitude of your location. Look at the zoom level that we're at. So we're currently at 12, and you can see the meter per pixel of that particular zoom level. So that covers the functionalities of Explorer. And as you can see, this is strictly a visual analysis tool that we have. I'm going to quickly now show you how you can use Basemap Viewer. In order to access Basemap Viewer, you have to click on the Applications button at the top right-hand corner of your screen, and you'll see an option here called Basemaps Viewer. Once you click on that, it should take you to a page that looks quite similar to Explorer, where you see the NICFI base maps. And with the left-hand panel that opens up here, you can switch between the base maps that are available to you by clicking on them. The next thing that I'm going to show you is how you can download quads. The Basemap Viewer is a great tool if you are looking to download an area or an area that you're interested in. So I'm going to zoom into an area here. And if I would like to download the Basemap quads over this area, I have two options. The first option, like we did in Explorer, is I can draw my area of interest. So I'm going to click on the Draw Area button. And as you can see, my cursor changes to this sign. And then I'm just going to draw a quick box over the area that I'm interested in. Once I draw a box, you should see this response here where it shows you the quads that cover the area that you've drawn. A quad is what we call a quad is the unit of measure which makes up our base maps. So when I click on a quad, and if I zoom out a little bit, you can see the footprint of the quad. As you can see, it's quite a big square. Similarly here, 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 you can see that. And in order to download, I will just click on this button right here that allows me to download the quad. And here it is, it's downloading already. So as simple as that. If you would not like to draw your own area of interest, you can always use the upload file button here, where if you click on it, it opens your local, and you can upload a GeoJSON file as you would please. So similarly, I can go back in and out and draw and download as many quads as I can. Moving to the top bottom right-hand corner of the screen, here is the compare tool that we went over before. This tool allows you to zoom to the base map to give you an overview. And similarly before, there is the map label option. And that concludes the tour of Basemap Viewer and Explorer from Planet. Feel free to use these tools. And if you have any feedback, please let me or Charlotte know about it. And I hope you all have fun. Let me know if you have any questions. Thank you for your time.
Thanks so much, Pooja. I think it's always great to go through Planet Explorer. There's so many different tools that you can use inside the browser that work on the fly, that are really functional, particularly for users that are perhaps new to satellite data or new to geospatial data in general. So really informative to show at least at an introductory level how to access these tools. And so now we're going to move on to Alyssa Barrett, who is the platform manager at Global Forest Watch. So Global Forest Watch is one of our partners for the event, and they showcase the NICFI data also on their site. So they have a data stream of the data that is therefore viewable at this level 0 level that I mentioned. So Alyssa is going to talk about the tools that they have within Global Forest Watch that can enable users and integrate their own data, Global Forest Watch's own data layers with the planet data and how that can be beneficial. Alyssa, over to you.
Hi, my name is Alyssa Barrett. I work for the World Resources Institute as the manager of the Global Forest Watch website. So for those of you who are unfamiliar, Global Forest Watch aims to empower people everywhere to better monitor and protect the world's forests. And we do that by providing access to visualize and analyze spatial data that show when and where the world's forests are changing. I'm excited to be here today to give you a quick demonstration of how you can access the planet imagery that you just learned about from the Global Forest Watch website. So here we are on the homepage of Global Forest Watch. It's just globalforestwatch.org. Hopefully that's easy enough to remember. We're going to navigate to the map. The most impactful way to use planet imagery on Global Forest Watch is to validate or visually confirm on the ground change that's detected by deforestation alerts or the fire alerts that we provide access to through the website. So as a first step, I'm actually going to toggle off these 3 data layers that are displayed by default and navigate to the forest change menu. And here you'll see there's 2 options for deforestation alerts, and there are fire alerts right here. For purposes of today's demo, we're going to view GLAD deforestation alerts. GLAD stands for the Global Land Analysis and Discovery Lab at the University of Maryland, which produces these alerts. And these alerts, they're available for the tropics. They're updated weekly, and they are 30-meter resolution because they're based on Landsat satellite imagery. I'm most interested for this demonstration in looking at the most recent alerts. So we'll drag the time slider. So we're just viewing alerts for 2021. You can also look at the calendar selectors, select specific days if that's easier. So now we're just viewing alerts that were detected between January 14th and April 7th of this year. And I say detected because oftentimes the detection date is not the same as when the actual forest loss occurred, because the alerts can't be detected until there's a cloud-free satellite image available for the area. And in some cases that can happen weeks or even months after the actual loss event occurred. So we're zooming into the state of Pará in Brazil, and I chose this area because, as you'll see, there are quite a few protected areas here. And this protected areas data comes from the World Database of Protected Areas. And this protected area in particular, which you'll see the name here and details about it, has experienced an increase in forest loss recently, largely due to cattle ranching and illegal land grabbing and illegal mining. So this is why I thought this would be an interesting area to look at today. So we'll zoom in, and we see a lot of pink pixels, each one representing 30 meters by 30 meters that supposedly correspond to forest loss, but there's not a lot of visual evidence here, just the pink pixels. So this is where planet imagery is particularly useful, because we can toggle on the planet base maps and overlay the alerts to actually see the change happening in the forests on the ground. So this is where you'll find planet base maps. They live here in map settings in the lower right hand corner. So I'll click on that, and then you see planet listed here. I'll click on planet, and the base map that will load automatically is the most recent one, so from March 2021. If you click this drop-down menu, you'll see all of the different dates available. So starting with December 2015, there are 6-month intervals, and then in September 2020, we start to have monthly planet base maps available. So this is what the most recent image of the area looks like. But if we want to see visual evidence in the planet base maps of change, we'll have to look at an image that predates the detection date of these GLAD alerts. And we know they're detected between January and April, but if we want a more precise detection date, we can hit this play button, and it happens fast, so we'll do it again. But it looks like most of the alerts were detected in February. So let's look at a base map that is before February. We'll go back to December. And we will change the transparency or the opacity of the GLAD alerts here so we can see the underlying image. We'll zoom in for full resolution. So here in the lower part of the area, you see that there was forest loss prior to December 2020. And then here, this forest is intact with the exception of this road. And up here, it looks like this forest has been cleared before. So now let's look at January to see what this area looks like. So in January, we see forest loss creeping up towards the top of the image, and in February, we see that this whole area has experienced some degree of forest loss. And if we overlay the image again, or sorry, the GLAD alerts again, we'll see that they mostly correspond with the change in forest that we're seeing in the planet base maps. So here we have a much more visually compelling picture or evidence that these alerts actually correlate to change that's occurring on the ground. So because this is happening in a protected area, perhaps this is something we want to share, publicize, or share with the authorities. So in order to do that, you can click on this share icon down in the lower right-hand corner. And you can share this shortened link on social media or via email. You can also click embed, and this code allows you to embed a map view that would look exactly like this in a blog or an external website. And you can also copy and paste the link directly from your browser that also captures the exact map view that you're looking at. One final thing for those of you who are comfortable working with satellite imagery, you can also view planet base maps in false color to get a better sense of vegetation health, but for most people, natural color is probably the best option to work with. And so we looked at this workflow, this example using GLAD alerts today, but you could repeat this with the RAD deforestation alerts, which are based on radar imagery and available for the Congo Basin in Southeast Asia, or fire alerts, which are global and updated daily. So yeah, hopefully everybody is sufficiently interested and compelled to visit Global Forest Watch to check out the planet base maps and other data that Global Forest Watch has to offer. And we're always eager for feedback and love hearing from users. So if you have any feedback, questions, comments, feel free to contact us through this form on the website. Thank you so much. I hope that this was useful. Bye.
Thanks so much, Alyssa. A great introduction to the Global Forest Watch platform and how you can access the planet data within that, and how it can work seamlessly with the GLAD alerts and the other layers that you have in there. So definitely really useful to users. You don't need to have a sign up to access that platform. You can view that on their website and explore that data right away, which is fantastic. So I just want to remind everyone, we will have a Q&A session at the end of the webinar. So please do keep posting your questions. We will answer some as we go, and we will certainly be answering or revisiting some of those when we come to the live Q&A. I'm delighted to say we have two excellent use cases to present to you. So this is using the PlanetScope data in combination with Global Forest Watch that you've just heard about, and in two different areas. So first off, we have Mohammed Fadhil Ayyasy from Haka in Indonesia, and he's going to share a little bit about how they work from desktop to field with the PlanetScope data. Over to you, Fadhil.
Hi everyone, I'm Fadhil from Haka in Indonesia. We are a local organization based in Sumatra that focuses on the conservation at the Leuser Ecosystem, the last place on Earth where orangutans, elephants, tigers, and rhinos coexist in the wild. The Leuser Ecosystem spans 2.6 million hectares across 2 provinces in Indonesia. It has been the source of life where at least 4 million people depend on it. However, in the last decades, the Leuser ecosystem has faced many threats, including deforestation. It has been suffered by illegal logging activities and land clearing for several reasons. And all those illegal activities are very hard to detect since the wide range area of the Leuser ecosystem and the variety of its topography. And in our effort to combat the deforestation that is happening in Leuser ecosystem, GLAD data and planet satellite imagery are indeed a very significant part. Thankfully, Global Forest Watch and NICFI, by providing us of this data that is very accessible, powerful, and also free for everyone. GLAD data is crucial since it allows us to locate the deforestation area and helping us in calculate the number of deforestation. We also use GLAD data in our patrol guidance map, so our field team can directly go to the field, collect the data, and investigate the case. In some other cases, there is still GLAD data that need to be verified. In that circumstance, we use planet satellite imagery to confirm whether the deforestation is real or not. Planet satellite imagery is also important in the law enforcement activity since we can keep monitoring the deforestation every month, and we can also find the roads towards the location of the deforestation. Furthermore, planet satellite imagery is also very useful in helping us design our future work, such as determining restoration location, identifying area to protect, and also monitoring the forest regrowth in some certain areas. After we interpret the deforestation and then collect the data from the field, we use to visualize all the data in an interactive map, such as Google My Maps and Google Earth provided by Google, so our partner and our team can look at the data more comfortably. We also do believe that this data can also be used by any other parties in the conservation effort of the Leuser ecosystem. That's why we are collaborating with World Resources Institute to introduce and teach Global Forest Watch along with GLAD data and planet satellite imagery within it to any other parties that we believe, that we think can help us in the conservation effort of the Leuser ecosystem, starting from the local authorities such as the police, and then the forest management unit, national parks, and even to journalists. This is the glimpse of our experience. We hope that from this short sharing session, we can learn from each other so we can protect our nature better than before. Our journey to preserve and protect the nature will still continue, maybe for a dozen next years, as long as we still care of the environment and the forest, especially the Leuser ecosystem.
Wow, that's amazing. Such a great example to show how the data is used on the ground and really providing value to users like Haka, who are taking that data from the satellite, integrating it with the GLAD alerts and seeing significant value from the information that the PlanetScope data under the NICFI data program is providing. So that's really wonderful to see. Thank you so much for that, Fadhil. So our last presentation before we move on to our Q&A session is from Jorge Fachin, who is from AMPA in Peru, and he's going to share similarly some experiences that they have had of using the NICFI data program as well as Global Forest Watch GLAD alerts to support deforestation efforts in Peru. Over to you, Jorge.
My thanks to the organizers of this webinar and for the opportunity to share our work and experience in the application of technological tools for the participatory monitoring of deforestation and attention to environmental crimes in San Martin region, Andean Amazon in Peru. Now I'm going to share my screen to start my presentation. Okay, let me introduce myself. I am Jorge Fachin. I am the coordinator of the monitoring and GIS unit of the Amazonians for the Amazon, AMPA. AMPA is a non-profit organization who works in the conservation of natural and cultural heritage and the improvement of life quality and sustainable development of the communities of the Andes Amazon in Peru. We work with people-to-people approach, and our mission is conserve life to share with you. Since 2017, thanks to a small grant funds of Global Forest Watch from our partner, the World Resources Institute, we have promoted a forest monitoring initiative with the volunteer and communal conservation network of San Martin region. Currently, it is represented by 40 conservation concessions and 6 private conservation areas, and protect more than 70,000 hectares. We are implementing a control and surveillance system using data and tools of the Global Forest Watch platform. And we also encourage to the competent institutions of the regional and national level in charge of the forest management for take joint actions for verify deforestation and for the attention to the environmental crimes. According to the data report by the Global Forest Watch platform, the San Martin region is the third with the most forest cover loss in 2020 in Peru. Next, I am going to briefly explain 2 practical and frequent cases of the use of planet satellite images available on the Global Forest Watch platform. The first case is verify origin forest cover lost. It's important to know the origin of the loss of forest before starting actions in the field. This allows planning patrols. In that sense, the mosaic of planet images with a high spatial resolution provides our local and monitors with complementary information for the verification of GLAD deforestation. For example, this is a conservation concession. The GLAD deforestation alert is reported by the Global Forest Watch platform. Then, through the use of the planet images, it is possible to visualize the change in forest cover. This procedure allows to validate and determine the causes of the loss of the forest. Also, this motivated the members of this association to carry out a field patrol and collect information. It was reported to the competent authorities. Case 2, now when deforestation occurs. Through planet satellite images, we can quickly know the date of forest cover loss occurred. This example, the notification of GLAD deforestation alerts in this conservation concession, using the planet option of the Global Forest Watch platform, we can access the monthly database. Okay. This side of your screen. It can assessment when the change forest cover loss occur. That's right. Carrying out this procedure is key for the presentation of environmental complaints. Often, the competent authorities responsible for the investigation request this information. As a reflection, I can mention that the local users and monitors of the San Martin network who use the planet satellite images found a practical and dynamic way for the monitoring and surveillance the forest. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Jorge. Another great example, or two cases in your presentation where you've used this data and it's shown value to support the range of activities you do, including deforestation and conservation. And it's really interesting for us as the service managers for the program to see all of the different users and use cases. In this case, two NGOs presenting, but we've also, over the time of this project, heard from the private sector, heard from other research organisations who've been using this data and doing all sorts of amazing things. So it's really fantastic to have users presenting, and certainly I would absolutely recommend to any of you who are already using the data, if you'd like to tell us how you're using it. We're collecting that kind of information. That's really, really interesting for us to see how you're using the data. If you're able to share, we would love to hear from you. So we've heard a lot in the program. We've heard everything from an introduction to the data, to the background behind it from Haka and NICFI, to how we can access that data through two different tools in this case. And then, of course, having those excellent use cases just before we came into the Q&A session, which is what is up next. So I will continue to encourage you to ask your questions. We have had quite a lot already. We have about 9 minutes left of this session. I'm pleased to welcome my colleague Karstein Ringjord from KSAT, who will join me for the Q&A. We had hoped to have Jorge from AMPA here as well, but unfortunately he's having some technical issues. But Karstein and I will address as many of your questions as we can, and any we don't get to, we will circulate along with the link to the recording, which will be sent to all attendees across probably in the next couple of days when we've closed out the recording and the event. So I think we should get straight into some of these questions. So Karstein, perhaps I can ask you, we've had a couple of questions I noticed come through. People who have registered for the program, but they've had some trouble with login, or they've had a trial account and they're not quite sure what to do. What would you recommend what's their best next step? How would they get in touch with us so that we can help them?
Thanks, Charlotte. So on the NICFI landing page, planet.com/NICFI, you will find user guides, you will find general question in several languages, English, Spanish, Portuguese, French, and there is also a link there where you can get in touch with our 24/7 operation with your question. And we will make sure to answer it and make sure that you get your account set up properly.
Great, thank you, Karstein. And the same goes for information about, as some people were asking about downloading and streaming and other resources. So one of the questions was around using the data in their own monitoring system. Absolutely, that's no problem at all. So your NICFI account comes with an API key, so you will be able to use that API key in the software that you use, or use that to call a function, depending on what different tools you're using. We didn't present it here, but the API key also works in QGIS and ArcGIS. So you can use that to both search, discover and download the imagery if you are a level 1 user. Let's move to another question. We have we have a question here. At the beginning, it was mentioned that this project will run until 2022 with possible extension to 24. If a country will use this data for monitoring, will the availability of these images stop after the project ends? Karstein, do you want to take this one?
Yes, thank you for the question. So the contract is lasts from September 2020 to September 2022. However, there are a possibility to extend the contract 1 year at a time. So in total, we expect the contract to last until September of 2024.
Yes. Thank you, Karstein. So that will mean that any data that you're using as part of the program already, that will continue to be available to you. So up until that point that the contract as it currently stands ends, you will still have access to that data to use after that contract ends. But the way the data is set up, the NICFI data or the data program is quite specific to NICFI, the requirements and how that's been set up. So what happens after 2024, we will have to wait and see a little bit. There may well be some other options that allow some continuation of the program or something similar. But we will continue to, of course, keep you updated of any more information on that. But important to remember that you absolutely won't lose access to any data that you have already downloaded. You will be able to still continue to use that. We had a question about Google Earth Engine. This is one we get quite a lot. We have had a lot of support tickets on this question as well. And Karstein, do you want to take this one?
Yes, we are working closely with a solution here, and the solution is not ready yet, but we will make a solution where we can sorry about that. Where you can see the data on Google Earth Engine, and that will come. Unfortunately, we don't know the date yet, but we expect it to be ready there within probably a couple of weeks from now.
Great. Yes, thank you, Karstein. We know it's been long awaited. We know there's lots of users that are hoping to use Google Earth Engine. Of course, you know, you can download the data and use it in Google Earth Engine, but for those of you using large volumes of data, that can be challenging. We understand. So we're working as quickly as we can to get that functionality available for you. So we have a couple more questions and a couple coming in as well. So I'd just like to ask Fadhil a question, actually. I really loved your presentation. I thought it was a really fantastic way to show the work that you're doing. And I'm delighted to hear that the planet data is adding additional value to you and your group, you know, in combination with the GLAD alerts that you're using from Global Forest Watch. And I just wondered whether the value of the data is based primarily on the resolution, so the spatial detail of the data, or the cadence of the data, so how often that data comes in. If you is there a few words maybe you could say about that, about why this data is so important to you and how the value, you know, why it's so valuable to add further insights?
Okay, Charlotte. For the question, my answer is both. Both the cadence and also the resolution, spatial resolution. Both of them are very important for us in our job. First, about the cadence, because we can monitor the forest every month. It's very important to get an updated condition about the forest. So we hope that the data can be updated as quick as possible. And also the spatial resolution, you know that the planet satellite imagery, if I'm not wrong, can have the spatial resolution about 4 meters or less. And it's such a very good, you know, resolution that can help us to identify the forest regrowth and also the deforestation, and both of them are very important. Maybe. Fantastic.
Thank you, Fadhil. It's really useful for us to know, and that's obviously the premise behind the program is to make the data as accessible as possible, and so that, you know, both elements of that are really providing value. That's fantastic. I'm conscious of time. We've got a couple more questions. So we had a question: can Indigenous organisations request level 2 access to strengthen Indigenous monitoring and protection in the Amazon and in their early alert systems? So I guess the first thing I would answer is that they can access the program at level 1 level as well. I definitely wouldn't, you know, we don't have to delay in getting them access to the data. And in fact, we have been discussing Indigenous outreach, how we can tailor tools for Indigenous communities where barriers to bandwidth and perhaps knowledge of spatial data can be more limited. So if you would like to reach out to us and discuss the group that you're working with and how perhaps we can do some outreach with them, we'd be very happy to hear from you. With respect to level 2, that will be a call for proposals. We don't have more details. That is being led by the Norwegian Ministry. When that is available, we understand it will be open to everyone. That will include academic, NGOs, Indigenous communities, as well as the private sector, who will be able to apply for access to the level 2 products. It will be very much a limited program in comparison to the level 1. And as soon as we have more details, we will certainly be sharing that. We probably have time for one more question. Let me see, what do we have? Yeah, so we had a couple of questions about data availability and SAR and Copernicus data. So the NICFI data program is the planet scope data that we've been discussing, as well as the Airbus historical data. But the data has been corrected. It's corrected in a very similar way to make it complementary to working with Sentinel and also to Landsat. We know lots of people are using those tools already. Unfortunately, the NICFI data program doesn't include SAR data, but of course there is such a wealth of SAR data that's also readily downloadable. So the Copernicus Data Hub could also be used in combination, and you can have some SAR access as well if that is important to you. So access is open to everyone. I just want to reiterate that. We had a couple of questions about that, and it really is, you know, we've tried to remove some of those barriers to make it as accessible. So if you're having any problems in accessing, then please do get in touch, and then we can help resolve those for you and ensure that you're able to access the full information to help you with the work that you're doing. I'm conscious of time. I know we have a few questions left, so what we will do is we will collate any final questions we haven't been able to answer. We will include in the email that we send to all registered attendees the link to the recording when that's available, along with the email address to get in touch with the help desk, the link to the web page where you sign up, and which also includes the links to the other documentation, and address any questions that are outstanding here. But please don't hesitate to get in touch with us anytime if you have further comments or questions. We love to hear from you. Thank you so much to all of the speakers and presenters who took the time to share their experiences and usage of the data. Thank you to Karstein for joining me for the question and answer. And thank you all for attending. I hope you have found this informative, and yeah, we look forward to hearing how you're using the data. Thank you very much.